Topics related to research and statistics can be intimidating and tricky to understand at times. In this video, we're talking about type 1 and type 2 errors to help you better understand these concepts. Stick around until the end for some examples of type 1 and type 2 errors. But first, my name is Keegan. I have a master's degree in counseling and I'm a licensed professional counselor. I make videos like this to help you better understand various concepts in the world of psychology, counseling, and mental health. Keep in mind that engaging with this channel does not constitute a therapist-client relationship. This content is for educational and entertainment purposes. This does not substitute or replace professional mental health care. To best understand type 1 and type 2 errors, we should first begin by reviewing what the null hypothesis is, as this is going to be important for us best understanding type 1 and type 2 errors. When we conduct an experiment, we have at least two hypotheses. The first is the experimental hypothesis, or what we believe will happen because of the experiment. To say that another way, the experimental hypothesis is what we hypothesize the result of the experiment will be. So the experimental hypothesis is the first. The second is the null hypothesis. The null hypothesis means that the experimental group and the control group didn't have any significant differences. In other words, the null hypothesis is stating that the results from the experiment were not what we were expecting them to be, and that the experiment did not work as anticipated. Now that we've talked about those two types of hypotheses and you have a better understanding of the null hypothesis, let's move on to type 1 and type 2 errors. No matter how great the statistical test is, chance can always play a role in an experiment, which can affect the statistical test and result in error. Type 1 and type 2 errors are generally those that are discussed as a result of statistical tests. Also known as alpha errors, type 1 errors mean that the null hypothesis is rejected even though it's true. In other words, a type 1 error is a false positive. Type 2 errors, also called beta errors, mean that the null hypothesis is accepted even though it's false. To say that a different way, with a type 2 error, the null hypothesis is not rejected even though it should be. This means that there is a false negative. The chances of a type 1 error occurring is the same as the level of significance, which is the same as the probability of the null hypothesis not being rejected. With type 1 and type 2 errors, the chances of one occurring go up as the chances of the other occurring go down. Rosenthal says to think of them as a seesaw. I'll say this a different way. As the chances of a type 1 error occurring go up, the chances of a type 2 error occurring go down. And on the flip side, as the chances of a type 1 error occurring go down, the chances of a type 2 error occurring go up. That said, the larger the sample size, the lower the chances are of a type 1 or a type 2 error occurring. Let's take a look at some examples of type 1 and type 2 errors to help you better understand them. But first, if you're enjoying this video and finding it helpful, please help me out by giving it a like and subscribing. As an example, let's imagine that we have a test that is designed to show whether a person is competent to be a therapist. If the person is actually competent to be a therapist, but the test says that they're not, this is a type 1 error. If the person is not actually competent, but the test does not catch this and says that they are competent, this is a type 2 error. Here's another example. If the fire alarm goes off, but there is no fire, this is a type 1 error. If there is a fire though, and the fire alarms do not go off, this is a type 2 error. Let's look at one more example. If we're studying a new approach to therapy and the test says that this approach does not work when it actually does, this is a type 1 error. If the test says that the approach does work when it actually doesn't work, this is a type 2 error. Hopefully that helps you better understand type 1 and type 2 errors, as well as what the null hypothesis is. That brings us to the end of this video. I hope that you found it helpful. While you're here, make sure that you check out some of the other videos on my channel. Thank you so much for watching.